Is it weird to become kinder the more you suffer? Not weird at all. You have felt grief now and know how others might be feeling. Your empathy has grown. People who have never felt such a strong grief as you have don't know how much it hurts. Suffering humbles us, and makes it easier to look at others through eyes of love. No, it isn't weird. I think grief has the capacity to make us better people. Through empathy, there's something so bittersweet, so beautiful about the experience of alchemizing pain into kindness. I'm very sorry for your loss. When I lost my brother 14 years ago, the grief would come in waves. Some deeper than the rest. I remember seeing my parents and thinking no parent should ever have to go through the pain of burying a child. But we learn to live with our losses, even if we never truly get over them. Sending you lots of love. Sorry for your loss. Reminds me of the book, The Prophet Khalil Gibran. As I remember, the deeper that sorrow carves into you, the more joy you can contain. Something to read that might help you through. Also try Art Grief. I spent some time there after my own brother's suicide and it helped. I'm sorry for your loss. Sending you lots of positive energies and strength in this tough time. I struggle with depression since I've lost a few loved ones in my life. Every time this happened, I got more empathetic and loving and kind to everyone around me. But also sometimes got outbursts of anger. It's pretty normal to be like that. I think it's a way of coping. Maybe also that you don't want someone to worry about you, so you're there for others. There's a reason why those who have suffered in life tend to be more empathetic than those who have never known hardship. It's like when men wince when they see another man get hit in the balls. Or a woman sympathizing with another woman who's experiencing menstrual cramps. When you know what it feels like, and how much it hurts, you're more inclined to be nicer when you see someone experiencing that same pain. Remember to tell the people in your life that you love them. Less than 3. Sorry for your loss. No, for some it's just empathy. It grows. You may not share the exact pain, but you understand that someone is in pain. So you connect it to your struggles because you remember what it was like. Well, those of us who have a level of morality. No, experiencing pain results in empathy when we see others' pain. When my dad died, I suddenly realized what grief and true pain is like. I watch TV and see scenes of war and killing and I feel desperately sad. Grief and pain absolutely does make you more empathetic to other people. 3 days ago I saw a homeless person begging for money. I went into the shop and bought food and water, then gave them €5. I asked him his name and wished him luck for the future. I know I didn't change his life, but I just hope I showed a little kindness. My friend said that he would probably go out and do drugs now. I couldn't care less as I could feel his pain of addiction. Some people choose anger to deal. Some see the value of life lost when it hits so close to home. I'm glad you didn't choose the first one. I'm so sorry for your loss. It's not weird at all. Hugs. I grew up in an emotionally abusive home with bad communication and immediately went into a bad marriage where communication wasn't priority. For example, it was basketball season when my mom died and he used to get an attitude if I ruined things that were important to him. So it took me 3 days to tell him that my mom died so that he could get through the end of the season in a good mood. And then joined the Air Force where they told us they would assign us feelings if they wanted us to have them. I didn't learn to empathize until like 2018. My life was a lot worse than most of the people that I had encountered. Not worse than anyone's in the world because I've seen some awful things since moving 9 hours away from my hometown to a larger city. But initially it was really hard for me to relate to anyone else because in my mind they should Just be able to get over it because that's what I was doing. I didn't realize that I had spent most of my life in a dissociative state, so it wasn't until I got help from my mental health from Air Force PTSD that I began to feel like a normal person, and it hit me a lot in waves. Now, I empathize with people way too much. Way more than I should. Becoming a parent also helped because I realized that I don't want my kids to feel the way that I felt growing up. So I had to learn how to communicate, and I had to learn how to empathize so that they don't feel minimized growing up. I would say I'm kinder now than I've ever been before in my entire life. But I also suffer emotionally now more than I ever have before, and sometimes I miss the days when I didn't really feel very much at all. But then I remember how hard it was to relate to other people and to give my friends the advice they needed or the support they needed when I didn't understand why they needed it and when I was coming from an unemotional place. If I didn't have kids, I don't know if I ever would have done the work, and I probably would have just continued on with my life, never really knowing how to empathize with anyone. But I realize how unkind that made me earlier in my life when people needed to vent and I just didn't think what they were upset about was a big deal. When you're around other military people who act very similarly, though you don't realize you're being unkind. I've essentially gone back and apologized to everybody in the last 10 years for things that they didn't even necessarily remember. As a result, tears of joy. You've been through pain that you wouldn't want anyone else to go through. Completely normal to be kind. Always. All I know is that my rich-ass friend with no trauma is by far the meanest one in the group. That's generally how it works because you understand what it's like to suffer, to hurt, to agonize, so then you're more understanding and compassionate. Generally, the more of an unempathetic asshole you are, the less bullshit you have dealt with in life. Generally, it's not all folks, but in my experience it's how it works. It's not weird. It shows that you're a good person deep down. Emo. You could have become bitter, self-centered, and miserable, but instead you became a kinder, better person. I think that's wonderful. Sorry about your friend though. I hope you can find healing. But it sounds like you're already on the right track. Perhaps you are subconsciously choosing to honor your sister's beautiful, kind nature by taking on some of it yourself? But also, suffering is one of the few things that can increase a person's empathy and compassion. It's hard to put into words why. It makes some people hard and bitter, and they close up themselves to the world. In others, it makes them open up. I am so sorry for your loss. Alas, it might not be kindness, per definition, but as some already said, empathy, patience and understanding. People who have gone through hard times or situations often have more understanding for others, simply by experience, and by knowing what pain and suffering can do to you. It is easier to accept others might be experiencing things like that too, and be the reason why they feel, act in certain ways. The more hardships you have experienced, the more compassion and understanding you might have for others too. That is, as long as it is a hardship you get through and not get stuck in. That said, condolences for you and your family. The pain must be overwhelming, but you have at least each other, and taken good choices in how to handle it together. The right choices are never obvious when you are in the eye of the storm. But in my experience, all taken good decisions in taking more care of each other.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Aircast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.